Welcome back to Voices of Impact, the show where we uncover the identity shifts, defining moments, and courageous decisions beyond leaders who are creating meaningful impact in the world. Today's conversation is about something we all long for: belonging. But what if belonging isn't about finding the right place, but it's about finally coming home to yourself? So, joining me today is Sandra, founder of SH Jewelry, whose journey from Estonia to Canada became far more than an immigration story. It became a journey of identity, courage, and discovering that fulfillment isn't found by meeting expectations. It's found by living in alignment with who you truly are. So, after leaving behind the familiarity of home, navigating perfectionism, corporate expectations, the uncertainty of starting over, Sandra made the courageous decision to build a business rooted in purpose, creativity, and authenticity. So, today, every piece of jewelry she creates is more than something beautiful to wear. It's a reminder that our stories, resilience, and identity deserve to be celebrated and not hidden. So, Sandra, I'm excited to have you here. Welcome to Voices of Impact.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I've been excited all day.
Amazing. I love that. So let's dive in. I'd love to hear your story. So, when you decided to leave Estonia and move to Canada 7 years ago, or however many years ago, what were you hoping you would find? And what did you actually discover about yourself along
I mean, there's a lot of things I discovered,
the way?
obviously, but we'll get into that more throughout our conversation. But I think initially it was something different, something like completely opposite to where I was for 22 years. So I grew up in a very small village, kind of like little town, I guess. It's 1,000 people. Then I moved to the capital city in Estonia. And then at 22, I decided to go and explore. And I was looking to find more opportunities, just kind of see, not fully knowing what career path or life path or anything that I wanted. And I was hoping to also maybe find the answers within that journey and see by seeking if something comes to me that I align with. Yeah, and picking a big country always seems like so many opportunities. The American dream, it's kind of close enough. But yeah, as someone from completely different background, it's what you hear, and not necessarily too much of the struggles and what it actually is. But everyone is chasing that sort of American dream, Canadian dream. But I would say it was very surprising, and obviously a lot of things happened very unexpected that no one in the world expected to happen. Right? So that became a whole different type of journey that I wasn't prepared for.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
22 years old too, right?
Right. Wow,
Yeah, of
amazing. So thank you for sharing that. And I know
course.
I was born and raised here, but my parents came in the 90s from India to the US. And
Mhm.
yes, chasing after that, American dream. And this conversation always happens because I think a lot of immigrants, and I honestly admire all the immigrants. And I say that loud because it's not easy. And my mom always tells me this, that she left her home and her house and got married. And it's like I cannot imagine if I were to leave my home country and go somewhere like and live in myself in India. I visited India many times. I love it there, but to actually visit and move to like Australia, a completely different language. So I want to admire that you did that. And it's like, yeah, you kind of leave your home, right? We call our home there and come here to a new complete place and you don't know the people, you don't know the language, it's a completely different culture. How do people behave and all of that? And yes, at first we are like, hey, this is great, the American dream. And honestly, in the US, and maybe in Canada, but especially here, it's a lot of hustle and grinding.
Mhm.
Part of it was nice in the beginning. Like everyone was like, "Hey, I love it. I'm the go-getter. We're all going after this dream." But like you said, there's things that you will unravel that you might not understand until later, right? So I'd love for you to kind of share more about what were those surprising moments and that came for you to understand that, hey, like, is this truly the path that I want to create? Is this my true definition of success?
Yeah, I would also say that I'm kind of in a way happy that I didn't know too
Yeah.
much, and I was so young and like brave to do that because I didn't have enough experience, and I don't know if I would have taken that path
Yeah.
if I had known a lot about it and all the struggles. And but yeah, so the move was made in 2019, so like 7 months before COVID. And I quickly realized that trying to find a job and how like it is said that they value a lot of immigrants coming in and, jobs and all of that. But it's kind of the same thing as it was also like back home. And I'm sure in other countries too, that like they value experience, and then when you take all of the immigrants and their experience, but in different cultures, it's not quite the same. And then, you're being hired for still a job that's a business, and they need to make sure the business stays up to their, values and everything. So it took me a little bit of time and a lot of interviews to get started. By doing that, I was already running out of money. I had no idea
Oh,
like how expensive it was here. Like obviously I knew, some of it, but like again, comparing to a country where I'm from, I think I saved up like $2,000 and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm good. This will last and like all of it. And very quickly it was like, no. And
yeah.
like then the anxiety and like, I had never lived by myself. So I moved from my mom's place to here, which was kind of a surprise to her that I'm moving out, but I'm moving out across the world. So, but my family has been like very supportive. And I think that they didn't show how scared they were for me.
Yeah.
And sort of, I've always been the kind of stubborn child that doesn't listen and does it anyway. So that's how it kind of went. And I think that got me to eventually getting a job. A lot of like, I was working in service most of the time, and I found it very hard to get out of that. But then I did end up getting offered to get sponsored here to stay and like move to like more manager part in the serving industry. But then COVID happened. So we already had started the application. I was already like, okay, this is working out, and all of it disappeared, right? And then things became very different very quickly, where you're kind of like, because I already had, let's say, gone broke before finding that job and then getting that job and getting the sense of like, this is working out, and then it's all taken again. That put me instantly like, this is happening again. I'm going to like spend all my money just like waiting it out. And like, of course, that was the time where like no one even knew how
Right.
long this is going to be, what's it going to look like. So I quickly downgraded. I moved to a house with like 5 roommates, and it was one of those, I think, like student houses, like a townhouse with like probably 5, 6 apartments. And then within those apartments, there was a lot of bedrooms, and so yeah, I kind of had to wait it out, and I decided to apply for the study permit to stay in the country. And also, like, it's not a bad thing
Yeah.
to go back to school. So I was like, okay, this is a win win.
Yeah.
But yeah, waiting it out and keeping your head straight
Right.
and like kind of still in a lot of hopes while already kind of building a little bit of resentment of like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
And I think if you take a person's security of making money for themselves that pays for food, pays for rent, like it really kind of messes with your head.
Right.
Like, why is that taken from me? Like the one thing
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
supposed to be making me feel safe here. And so it was already a very big struggle from the first year. I would say that I did not expect at all. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Now, thank you for sharing all of that. And, I'm sorry to hear the whole struggles, but at the end of the day, and I think this conversation it's what it's teaching us, right? And sometimes, like, what you said, I'm glad I didn't know. My mom would say the same thing. Like, she was like, I was just like ignorant. I didn't know. And this is what I thought. And, right. But that's part of the journey, right? The part of the
Mhm.
journey is even though maybe there was these struggles and this pain, you turned it into power and look at you today, starting your business. And you told me it's been 1 year, and maybe that was meant to be, right? I
Mhm.
believe in the universe and the divine, and these seasons of I also went through my own, like, I'm not an immigrant, my parents were, but I also went through bouts of unemployment finding jobs. It's happens to everyone, and I'm like also similar, like, why did this happen? And I just took that in a place of maybe it's teaching me something. These are some lessons for more growth, for more resilience, right? And maybe it's just that identity shift I want to go into. Like, maybe there are some parts of you that were like, hey, maybe I need to work on this piece. And what does that mean? And yeah, it's coming into the US is all about the hunger, the hustle, and the grind. And I love what you said about the security, and the security is I want to get into the identity piece because everyone, when they come here, they tie their identity and self worth to a job or
Mhm.
to security or to money. Right. And that's very normal. It's part of the stage. But sometimes, we kind of realize like maybe there's something deeper down there, right? There's something in there that's maybe that's not the direction. Maybe it's something else. Maybe I have a purpose here. The divine is giving me some signs. So I love to kind of go into that of, the title today is learning to belong without losing yourself, right? So looking back, were there seasons where you felt that you were becoming who others expected you to be instead of who you really were?
Yeah. So I think there was lots of very good things that you mentioned, and I think, well, one thing was that I just like to acknowledge, like the being of the victim versus what is this teaching me, right? And like, what is this like? How can I use this in my future? So maybe like similar things wouldn't happen, or if it does, how to handle it, right? And I think that all of the self worth, money, success, jobs, all of it, and like especially with the job part, like it is kind of in society of like what we're expected to do and be and all of it, right? But like, what if your journey, even if you're really pushing it towards that goal and getting that great job, like, I think it's a lot of like, for myself, it was a lot of acceptance of like, okay, I did the best I could. I went to school, I've gotten certificates, spent a lot of money on trying to, better myself and hopefully land that job. And like also I worked really hard to also fit into this culture of like what the jobs or employers are expecting of me
Yeah.
and what do I need to show. And I don't think it was necessarily one or the other thing or me or even though I'm talking about it now, but at the time I was like, I'm
Mhm.
not good enough. There's something wrong with me and I always need to be better, and like, and then the perfectionism and all of it, and what my parents want me to be, and then essentially like, why did I leave my country at all if I can't even like get a job here or a decent job and like build that life for myself. And I guess with COVID and everything, it became very like not a path that I wanted to go with, like finding like a corporate job, but somehow it became about that. And I really wanted that because I think that I just really wanted that security again, and I didn't want to lose it. So even though I've always been very entrepreneurial and like all of that, I didn't pick that route at that time anymore because I was like, this
Yeah.
that's not security.
Yeah.
That's, a lot of work and effort, which I didn't mind, but I kind of, yeah, really wanted to feel safe. And then I think, yeah, just again, starting to think like, what is my purpose here anyway?
Exactly.
What am like, I went through a really strange phase in my life where I woke up with almost this like panic of like, what am I supposed to do in life?
Mm.
And like really question myself of like, what are we doing here? And like, is it the job and the corporate life something that I want anyway? And I knew deep down that's not,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to show everyone
Yeah.
that I made it and I moved here and it wasn't all for nothing. At the same time, like having, phone calls with my mom where she would be very much like, Sandra, like if you just move back home, it does not make this a failure. You
Right.
did not fail. And just because you didn't land this job or gotten this and like all this experience, it doesn't mean that it's taken from you. Like you already succeeded, right?
Right.
And my response to everything is like, I know, I know. But deep down I was like, no, I cannot. Like I feel a little bit like I felt for a long time like a failure.
Hmm,
And it was just something in me that I just needed to prove,
right.
and to prove my self-worth. Then weirdly enough, not getting the jobs or hired, and then seeing some of my friends getting the jobs, and I it kind of went back to the entrepreneurship, and I kind of wanted selfishly to also do that, and then prove that like I am a very hard worker, and like one day you'll regret that you didn't give me a chance, and then I'm going to create jobs, and then I'm going to fix this problem, which is completely like in the future, you need to keep yourself afloat before you go fix the world.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate to a lot of things you said. I'm pretty sure a lot of the immigrants and whoever's listening, it's everyone is going through similar things. I want to say you're not alone, and it's like your logic is saying one thing and your heart is saying something else. Like your soul is pulling you towards like purpose and everything. But we're
mhm,
conditioned by our for me it was family, and maybe for you and a lot of people it's society. For me it was like everything. Even now I'm 4 years in, I found my purpose, I'm ready to go, but my parents are like, "Hey, you need to do this, you need to go back to corporate," all of that, and it was that purpose that kind of is keeping me going, like, "Why am I here?" And I love how you said that it comes back to that. Even if you try to avoid it, ignore it, that inner voice that keeps, like, saying, like, "I don't know, is this for you?" It's that logic that keeps going into, "This is what I'm supposed to do, not what I'm meant to do, so I'm supposed to
mm,
be." Yeah, safe and secure. Money's supposed to keep me secure. What if I start a business and I don't have the money? So you kind of have to go through those like fears and everything. And I understand like the fear of failure because I wasn't very similar as go-getters. We're all about the high achieving of we need to prove something. We need to prove like I can do this. I will, be successful if I get this revenue or if I get this point or if I'm like promoted or something. But that's what we're taught by society. But now we want to unravel that. And our soul is like, that's not what you're here to do. And then do not like compare yourself to other people. And we have
mhm,
to like cut out the noise and listen to what our soul is saying, what our heart is saying, what our intuition is saying. And I love how you are following that intuition right now. And it's not an easy journey, as I've also went from the corporate to entrepreneurship because this is something not a lot of people understand, not a lot of people will support, right? And I'm glad that your mom was able to say like, hey, like this is even if you come back home, don't tie it to your self-worth. Like you did the best you can. And we're so focused on an end goal and the
mhm,
destination that we didn't realize, like, look at the journey. Look how we've grown as a person and bettered ourselves and professionally and personally, how resilient we became, right? So these are the things that these journeys are supposed to mean. It's not the ending, right? This is the beginning of a new chapter for you. And look at you right now that you're a founder of a beautiful jewelry company. And I kind of wanted to go into, so I know you kind of spent years fitting in, trying to fit in now. So where do you feel yourself, like what does belonging mean to you right now? And it's not something that it's you earn. You talked about acceptance, right? So it's something that you create by accepting yourself.
Yeah, I think it's a very good question, and it's taken me years to, and I don't even know if I today have the perfect answer for it. And but that's, I guess, what I feel comfortable now, and now saying that I do. So I get asked a lot, like, "Oh, you're, are you Canadian now?" Or and a lot of different, ways of like, how do I go about and where do I belong? Where is home? And all of it, I do think that home is here in Canada, but like it's like, I guess I'm still gonna say Estonia is also home.
Yeah.
I don't think you necessarily need to pick one. And that's also like why I chose to go with this entrepreneur route and jewelry and all of it, is that like I will be able to go home more. And I don't even like I used to say it very like materialistically, that I need to make this amount of money and this, but I would never want to explain of I need that because I need to be able to go home.
Mhm.
Because I somehow thought that if I say that, that makes me like a softie or something.
Right. Yeah.
And like now I'm very like, no, this is like my end goal is to be able to go to Estonia more, and then to be able to have my family visiting here. And it's still a little bit of struggle with like homesickness and then going home and questioning if I made the right decision. But I think that for me, it's like my gut feeling of when I go home to Estonia, I don't want to live there. But of course, I adore it. It's like
Right.
such a big part of me. And yeah, I definitely feel the belonging here more, but I still keep a lot of my Estonian side personalities and culture and everything very close to my heart. So, like for example, it's kind of maybe a little bit of like a funny way how Estonians are not that emotional or
Mhm.
sensitive, and we're like. Here you go, like, hi, how are you? Tell me about your day, and like all of like a different type of interactions. Where in Estonia, it's kind of more straightforward
Okay.
and it's very honest, and like even every time I go home it's like, let me fix your eyebrows, and
Yeah.
or like here no one would ever say that. Everyone would be like,
Right.
oh no, you look good, yeah. So I kind of like the both parts of it where you can be honest without offending a person,
Right.
and also like you don't have to be like kind of white lying everything,
Right.
and yeah, I think that's like the very big differences that I'm sort of trying to incorporate, and I like both sides of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that I realized about myself, and kind of when I moved here I was a little bit more shyer person, and now I'm kind of used to like going up to my neighbors, talking to them. I know them by names now, and and a very like kind of open-minded and like connecting with people, and I realized that it wasn't serving me to keep to myself and only focus on my path, because at the end of it, even in my business, I'm not the one that's making my business go. It's all the people, it's
Exactly.
all the customers, it's my friends, it's my husband who supports me, listens to me. Like it's I can't do it all on my own, and I think that's where the connection part comes to play. But sometimes, and especially in the first years, it was hard for me to connect with people because I didn't also quite know how to act, how to behave, how do they want me to behave.
Yeah. Wow,
So
thank you for sharing that. I think it's beautiful that you shared this and your journey
hmm
from where you've come and where you're here now. And it's yeah, it's a learning curve, but it's a dual identity. And whether it's immigrants, and even for me, like even though I was born and raised here, my parents are Indian. Like even though I was here and I was raised with white people, my parents completely raised me an Indian way. So I was
hmm
like, which way do I go, right? And it's a very similar thing that you have that dual identity, but you really were like, hey, you know what? Why don't I embrace both? Right? There's
hmm
values from the American culture and the values from Estonian culture, and I want to embrace both cultures. Like, why not? And make it my own little like identity, right? And we're so focused these days on fitting into a box and a
yeah.
label, and if we're not in that box, immediately we're like judged, right? And it takes courage to be like, you know what? I'm in my own little container box. There's no label. I like this, I like that, and that's exactly what brought me because it's you're really honoring where you're coming from, right? And you're like,
hmm
this is yeah, I know. Like, I love how you're self-aware at the end of the day. You're like, you know what? I love the Estonian roots. These are the things I want to bring on in for me and my future generation, which is my family, my kids, and my business. Because when you're building a business, that's your legacy. You're kind of thinking about what are you going to take on and what are you going to bring to the next level of you. And yeah, like you're embracing both roots. And that's some people still struggle with that. But I love how you really were like, you know what? Why not? I don't need to fit into a box. I'll just be me, right? And look at you today. And it's so powerful and it's so beautiful that you're just like, this is who I truly am. I don't need approval from anyone else, society and parents and family and friends. And I love how you talked about the connection, right? And yes, business entrepreneurship. Even for me, I still have things that I like about corporate. Do I like all of it? No, but I
hmm
take like the corporate aspects. People told me this. I think I had one person, she was like, hey, Vina, like you're building a business that's so mission driven, purpose driven, but you're structuring it like, a little bit in the corporate side, right? A little bit of the combination of entrepreneurial and corporate, which is amazing. right? So you don't have to go either or are, like make it your own way that's aligned to who you are and how you want to lead, right? And that's exactly what you did. So that's so amazing. So congrats on that. And
Thank you.
yeah, and I know about you've spoken about choosing your heart over your ego and your logic. So I want to get into that again. So how do you personally distinguish between decisions that come from fear of proving yourself or external validation, and then decisions that come from alignment and being authentic to yourself? Like, I know like a lot of people are in that transition, and it's like, Vina or Sandra, which way do I go? Like, how do I know which one to choose at what time, especially like if you have important decisions to make?
I think that in a bigger picture, I think that now I've kind of come to know of what the bigger plans look like. And I guess it gets more complicated the smaller the decisions are, a bit like more specific directions. And I think that, so if I like gonna for an example, I've been in the service industry most of the time, and I was in that limbo of being uncomfortable, but not uncomfortable enough to leave, and having that security and pay, but then knowing that I don't want to do this and I'm not like enjoying it as much, as I'm not as happy as I guess I would be, but I wasn't uncomfortable enough to explore other avenues until I did start my business. And when I started my business, I didn't have a job at that time. But then having again the bigger picture, the bigger goal, I knew that I'm gonna have to find like a part-time job.
Yeah.
And then it was very hard to admit and like again announce to my family I'm going back to serving, and this is what's happening, and but kind of like owning it,
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
not even having to explain myself, even though I go right away to
Right.
it.
Right.
This is why I don't, don't judge me. But yeah, it's just kind of having your head straight. And I'm still kind of like, if that happens again, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
If I need a part-time job to keep doing what I'm doing for the bigger goal, bigger future, it's yeah, it's a lot of again like ego and acceptance and kind of like self-pride. And like I guess in the same way, if as my sister is like ready to buy a house and they have a kid, and like all of it a comparison again, which I guess makes it a little bit easier that like I am a very like happy person for everyone else. Like I'm not really that type of like so jealous and like upset over it. And I've also kind of accepted that I am doing what makes me happy. And I believe that all the rest, the house and I guess material things, plus starting a family, like those will follow. But not, if you're doing something that doesn't serve you or makes you happy, then I think it's just harder to achieve other goals too. And I also want to be, I guess, proud of what I'm trying to achieve, like let's say like buying a house, right? And then not getting there by like,
Exactly.
doing something that I'm so unhappy about. Like how am I gonna enjoy the house?
Right.
You
Exactly.
know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I like kind of let all of that go. I'm only focusing in the last years, I'm only focusing on how to be happy. What does that even mean? Does that mean every day waking up with like smile on your face, or just there gonna be bad days? And like I've really started to think about like what even makes me happy? What do I want to do? And like also business aside, like what do I want to do in my free time? A lot of little things that I guess change in time, change in like different phases in your lives. But I feel like the more you let them come in, the more chances you have of everything else coming in as well, and not forcing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you said. And yeah, it's really just listening to your intuition, right? And
Yeah.
letting that guide you, right? It's definitely it's a process, right? And it's a cyclical process because a lot of people, I was just talking to someone and people think when she was telling me this similar thing about the comparison game. And I was just like, yes, it's part of the process. And it doesn't mean like it's not bad. You want to accept it. Like it's okay. We're going through this stage. And because people think it's like, oh my God, and we apologize for it. So I like how you're owning it, saying like it's part of the process, but sometimes we go back into our logic and then we go into the heart and we're like, it's more of that self love. Why am I here? The bigger picture, like you said, going back to your why. Why did you come
Mhm.
into this in the first place? What are you meant to do here? What are your values? What do you truly like? Do you value authenticity? Then you want to start living like that. Right. And I love how you talked about having a part time job because that's exactly what I did. Right. And to what you said is I'm the kind of person who always goes to my mom. And even now I was like, hey, like I kind of invested in this. And then I was like, no, I shouldn't say the full thing because I don't, obviously, not everyone's going to understand and under your journey and maybe support you. And that's totally fine. Right. So that's why it's important to surround yourself with other entrepreneurs who are on this journey as well. But one person asked me, and she was telling me, like, why do you need to tell your parents everything, Dina? Like, and I was like, and she I don't know, there was a kind of a conversation about approval, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Maybe that's something I need to work on." My own partner was like, "Why do you want approval from your family to do something that you're owning it, and this is your thing?" And I was like, "That is true." Right? And so I worked on that, and now, like, I'm just, like, unapologetically being like, "This is my bigger picture." And it's okay to get a part-time. I got about 4 or 5 bridge jobs. Some of them ended and I had to go to the next one in the past 1 year while I'm building a business. And I was like, what's wrong with it? Right? Like, there's nothing wrong in, having, we talk about different streams of income. That's wealth, right? And that was actually my
Mhm.
next question is, what's your definition of financial stability as an entrepreneur, as financial freedom, wealth? When corporate people look at it in an income, right, way, we're looking at it from a wealth perspective. And wealth takes time. And to your
Mhm.
point, you said, I want to make sure I'm happy serving my mission deeply and really connecting with people. And then I know the money and the materialistic stuff will come. Right. And then that's exactly what wealth is. In the meantime, there are going to be times when you don't have consistent income, and it's okay to have a part time job, a bridge job to bring in that cash flow. And that's another thing I want to talk about that it took a while for me to learn this because as women of color, we thought of money as like, I completely thought of money as like I have to earn and I have to work so hard for it. But I realized what I did is I took that cash flow I got from part time jobs and then took that money and invested in my business. Right. And
Mhm.
because money is a tool, right? We use it as a tool to kind of get to our financial freedom. And someone was telling me that and completely reframed my mindset. I was like, that is true. Like, why don't I just use it as a tool? So we're just so conditioned by these societal terms and ways of success that we need to come home to ourself and be like, we talked about belonging. Belonging is one thing to be in a country, but the belonging coming home to yourself. So you have to belong from within, right? So what does home mean to you? You want to feel safe and seen for who you are and fully accepted for who you are, and you value authenticity and you bring that into your own business. And even if it takes such a long time, whatever, you still are resilient, you still are persistent with that mission. Because if you believe in the divine universe, God, there's a reason why they brought this business idea into us, right? Not everyone can do it. It's not meant for everyone. But if you have that, like, then I want anyone who's listening to be like, there's a reason why, right? And it takes time, but it's meant to really for you to listen to your soul and your intuition. And at these times, there are going to be stages of uncertainty. So I currently just invested in something and I was sitting here at the edge of my chair, like, oh my God, right? So I don't have much cash flow, but I'm going to invest in this. But I deserve this. I deserve the next chapter. I know I'm going to get there. It's going to make me a better version. It's not about the ROI all the time. It's like, it's helping me serve. I'm enjoying now, I'm thriving, and the wealth will come, right? And that's
Mhm.
exactly what entrepreneurship is about. It's a very different definition, but I love how you said each and everything, and that's how you follow your heart, and you're now aligned, right? So thank you for sharing that.
Of course. And I think that just to add on,
Mhm.
that's why it's so important to do what you love
Yeah.
because that's, what you like I'm sure that you have seen and I definitely have seen that there's not like a lot of money coming in, especially in the first year and and if it is, that's amazing.
Right.
but if it's not, then if you still keep going and keep doing it, then that means that you must really love it. So
Yeah.
imagine doing something you don't love and without the money, like it's not going to work,
Exactly.
and it's never not going to work. So I've never run a business like this, and I'm kind of like being trying to like set realistic expectations that it might take years. And I'm like already kind of accepting it, but I think that's something that I have noticed, that I do wake up every day and I'm like happy of what I do. Most days I end with like being really like okay, and then obviously there's like so many things that happen and are like upsetting and that are out of my control, and there comes like a bit of the I like to control things, I like to know what's happening, and and then when that's taken from you, then they're kind of like oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, most days I think I feel fulfilled and I feel like, I have a purpose to do something and it's more meaningful, and it kind of like there's no ceiling to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most coolest part. Like you can go anywhere.
Exactly. Exactly. And, like you said, there's no ceiling, there's no threshold. You can just keep going. And honestly,
Yeah.
I thought like the same thing when I first started. I'm 4 years in. And the first year I was like so excited. And I was like, yes, this is it. First entrepreneur. I'm going to get my revenue. But reality
Mm.
is not that. I'm going to be very honest. I was just having
Yeah.
this conversation with someone else in our Sovereign Rise community. And she was also going through similar things, and she was like, "I don't know, like, how to talk to this about, and I'm just struggling." She's 2 years into her business, and I was like, "Similar thing, all of us are in the same boat." But
Mhm.
realistically, we have to set the foundation, and it's literally like building a house, right? When you build
Mhm.
a house, you can't build the architecture without the cement and the concrete. It takes time to build a house, right? And it's literally like that. It takes 2 to 3 years to build a foundation and understand your business model, trial and
Mhm.
error, test it out. I've been through so many programs, bro marketing, lead generation. It's been like so much of a struggle, but at the same time, it's made me the most resilient, the most strongest woman I am today. And now I'm honestly teaching and guiding women in a way that, hey, go the other way though, right? Don't make the same mistake that we know. Well, that's why we're coaches helping others, saying like there's another way of operating and leading and thinking about building a sustainable business, right? And
Mhm.
sustainability is we build the foundation first, and then we do the strategy and the architecture and all of that. And then the rest will just fall into place. But if you don't have the foundation
Mhm.
set, yes, 1 or 2 years, I got inconsistent revenue and it fell apart. I just
Mhm.
rebranded my business like not even 6 months ago. And I was like, what's going on? Because I did not build a foundation in the beginning. No one taught me that. And I was like, maybe I should have. Maybe someone could have told me that. I wish someone did. But I'm so glad that 1 year in, I'm actually proud of you because that's not easy when there's so much of noise out there, that to be
Mhm.
like, you know what, first year in, I'm going to be super intentional about where my time energy goes. I just want to serve my mission. I'm happy. And, it will come in. Maybe it takes years, but I'm just happy and excited today. Right. And not many
Yeah.
people know that until like 4 or 5 years in. So to learn that from 1 year is something that you should be proud of. It's a great win of yours. So thank you for sharing all of this. And
Of course.
going into SH Jewelry, I know it's about a year old. So it carries so much emotional depth. And I'm a fan of jewelry. So I would love to learn more. So every collection I know tells a story, right? So
Mhm.
I know a lot of people think jewelry is about, of course, it's the beauty on the outside,
Mhm.
obviously, but it's also a reflection of who you are on the inside, right? So what story are you hoping women remember about themselves every time they put on one of your pieces from your jewelry collection?
Yeah, so I think overall, my mission is to inspire people to keep going. And I think that it's kind of like like whatever you're going through in life, right? It doesn't need to be only like immigration or jobs, or it could be anything. And then yeah, I write all through all my pieces stories, so it's not even like only collections, it's like by piece. And that's something that I'm still kind of working on, like how sustainable is that? But so far I've been kind of enjoying it. Yeah. So I have this necklace here. It's a two-layer, like double-layered necklace.
Yes.
And like the story behind it, and I guess we've kind of touched up on that it's one layer is kind of like the tough exterior that we put on, and like background and how I'm kind of like you always put on a good face and you never share if you're struggling and all of that. But then the second layer for me, like why I can relate to this necklace is that I'm actually very sensitive. And like despite my background and upbringing and everything, I'm very emotional. And like that's how it kind of ties in all together for me. And I wear it with like it's reminding me of like it's good to have both. And it
Mhm.
doesn't mean that
Right.
the sensitive part that you're weak or so I write little stories to different pieces and like kind of how the design came together and what was like the purpose behind it and what I guess people who put it on what I would want them to remember. And then I have well the earrings are kind of a little bit um maybe in a funny way because they're tear shaped,
Mhm.
so it's like the only tears you should wear. Which is kind of for myself too. Like, when things go south, I just kind of try to laugh about it now. Like, no more crying,
Right. Right.
no more being sad and beating yourself up for things. And then life happens when life happens. And it's like a good reminder in like a funny way. And like, I try not to have all the pieces with like really deep meaning, with like kind of heavy in a way, So I do some a little bit funny too, where I
Right.
just put them on and like no more tears.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that story. And every woman I think can, resonate with this, including me. And, I always was the very tough, strong, like I would never be emotional, even
Yep.
though internally I really am. I would never show it. So everyone was like, okay, like she's just like typical go getter. And everyone would just misunderstand me. And I was just brought up like that, even though, like, my mom was the polar opposite. I just went through a lot of pain, so I would never be vulnerable, I'd never share that feminine, because I was always in the survival mode, like, how you had mentioned, like, struggle and everything. It just happened
Mhm.
to be that way, my journey, and I would be like I wouldn't really like showing that feminine, as essence of myself, and I honestly just went through my healing journey and I was like, this is a side of me that I really like, but I never show it. What will people think? Because,
Mhm.
I've been in years of like proving and I got, success and awards. And I was like, what if I showed this feminine side to me? They will think like I'm not that go getter. I'm not that smart or anything. And then I now, like, honestly, recently, I was like, you can be both and you can really honor both and be proud of it and own it. So everyone I think who I'm talking to is either this or that. And I'm like, you can always be both, right? Similar to the
Yeah.
dual identity of you can embrace both cultures. We're so used to the labels that every
Mhm.
time I'm like the strong woman, it's like Mina's bossy. Even now, my parents don't like this version of me. They like the soft version of me. And I had to always fit in based on who I'm talking to. So it
Mhm.
was my family, it would be like my feminine side. If it was other people at work, I'd have to show my other side of like my go getter side. And I was like, why can't I be both to everyone? Right? Why can't I
Mhm.
just honor and own both? And now I just am so unapologetic. There's that balance that it's okay, right? It's okay to show both sides. And not everyone might not like it and might not accept it, but as long as you're accepting of it and you don't need other people's approval, the right
Mhm.
people will honor that, right? And it's wonderful how your jewelry reflects such an amazing message because that's so important for a woman, especially like in this day and age. You know how many women I've come across who are strong and they're like, I have never been vulnerable. I've been really struggling to share these things, Vina.
Yeah.
I don't have that sisterhood and it's really showing that through your jewelry and it's reflecting that is very
Mhm.
powerful, honestly. So I'm so like honestly grateful and honored that you're creating something like this in jewelry because jewelry, we think immediately it's just outside, people look nice, we're putting on something on Instagram. But when you really understand the story behind why the founder created this and the mission, it just
Mhm.
completely is like women are just going to be like really drawn to that. And it's just like a magnetic thing, right? So, I love how you talked about that and the relationships that we have ourselves. So, thank you for sharing that, honestly,
Yeah.
with the symbolism. So,
Of course.
yeah.
Well, I think that how like what we are creating and who we are it's obviously aligned, right?
Yeah.
And then you like really follow that. And like what my first mistake was kind of thinking that all the Estonian side of like friends and family and all of it, like they're gonna think it's so silly.
Right.
Like what are you talking about emotional jewelry? And I was just like, it took me months and months to not be like watching what I say and like kind of own it that like, you know what, this is what I like. And I also had to remember that like you make your like who's my customer. And
Mhm.
you have to remind that all these people that you're kind of scared to be judged from, they're probably not even your customer.
Yeah.
So, but like we of course first think like what are the people closest to us will think?
Right.
Well, you're actually supposed to do it for the customers
Yeah.
who is your customer.
Right.
And that like takes a little bit of time to be like, now I'm like, I'm owning it. I like it. This is
Yes.
me. It's kind of easy to talk about,
Right.
and yeah, and I'm just trying to cut out the back noise of like if my family watches this podcast, what are they gonna think?
No, no.
All of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the parents and the family, you just need to yeah, just boundaries, right? And I think that's a huge thing. Even now, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, why did you start this podcast? Like, why are you wasting time? Like all of that. I'm just like, okay, setting boundaries. But that's
Mhm.
very important for every woman is to say no and just really focus on your mission and your purpose.
Mhm.
And yeah, we immediately are like, what will people think? They don't, who cares what they think? This is between
Yes.
you and the business and your mission. And I call it the divine gave me this mission. So it's between me and the divine, right? That's what this is
Mm.
about. You and the universe, whatever you want to believe in and call it. But this is not about them. They don't need to sit here and, interfere in things. We're not trying to be rude. It's just they will not understand. This is for you and this is your mission. And to your
Mhm.
point, when you are aligned, and I notice that when I'm in joy, I'm healed, I'm thriving, I'm so happy and I love myself that unconditional love radiates to our clients or customers. Like they will feel that energy. So if
Mhm.
they listen to the podcast, they're gonna feel your energy. Like, hey, this she's really interested in just serving and with her jewelry. And it's not about like materialistic and money. And that's what magnetizes opportunities. And that's how you build a sustainable business from the place of who you truly are. Like your intention is who you are what you're here to do in your mission. And it comes on its own. There's no like, it's not like kind of climbing up a wall and like pushing yourself and forcing something and hustling. Right. So this is,
Mhm.
you're kind of in the right direction. Right. And that's what you feel like. This is my business model. I want to be in my feminine self. But I also want to also be the go getter and I'm honoring both. Right. So
Mhm.
that's being authentically you and unapologetically doing it. And that's, you'll see that it's so beautiful and it's so powerful, and you don't have to, like, even plan things, right? Even it's uncertain, it will unfold on its own because it's
Yeah.
magnetic. It's your presence and it's your energy, and it's your values that, attracts those customers, right? So it's not I mean, your parents might not like it, they don't need to. This is about you and the customer and you and divine, right, and your mission. So, absolutely, and yeah, I would love to see for emerging leaders who are maybe like going from corporate to entrepreneurship. So, when people think about you know future and beyond SH jewelry or entrepreneurship in general, what do you hope that they remember about the way you lived and the impact you made?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So when people think about your life years from now beyond SH Jewelry or entrepreneurship, so if you were to tell someone who is going from corporate to entrepreneurship, what do you hope they remember, even if it's your customers, about the way you lived and the impact you made?
Well, I think the first thing is that you don't have to have it all figured out to make changes or to start something. And I think in my experience, even though I thought I had most of it figured out, year in, everything has changed. Like so many things that you don't even know. Yeah, like a lot of it will always be in the works,
Yes.
and that's okay. And like it's all about like well having the foundation and the basis and and then you will probably continue maybe even for years of like perfecting each little section and yeah, I would say that I waited for a while to launch because I wanted it to be more and more and more figured out.
Right.
But yeah, it's just kind of I'm very happy that I launched the way I did and how it's been, and a lot has gotten a lot better, which like sometimes I can go in the rally of like, oh my gosh, I'm nowhere where I want to be, and not even close in all of it. But then like I always look back a year before and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's so much has changed, and
Right.
like I've done so much, I've learned so much, and like all of it. So like if I just keep going it like this, then only imagine what like 5 years can do. And and like it's the same of like I was saying before in my jobs, like I spent so long being like in the position where like I don't quite want to leave because I feel uncomfortable even though I'm not fully happy and all of it. And then you always wish that you've left sooner,
Right.
you know, or after you made the change and you're kind of like, why didn't I do this sooner? And so I guess it's the same with business or entrepreneurship or any changes where just embrace it and don't hold yourself back, right? Because sometimes we are our own barriers to a lot of things that we could possibly do. And like even when I'm saying like I think that the Estonians and like all of that, they think it's silly. Where like I'm actually not, no one has ever told me it's silly.
Right. So about
Or like I'm creating that in my head because of my background and how we are, that they must think that it's silly.
right.
Where like it's not even true. It's just,
It's not. It's just
like we can just overcomplicate so much in our own heads. And that's what I'm trying to be like, just keep it simple.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, love the advice, love exactly what you said. Yeah, I mean, it's our beliefs, right? And it all starts in the mindset and, and unraveling what society has told us and those limiting beliefs. And I like what you really said, so important that we ourselves are our bottlenecks and our barriers, right? And actually, when I invested in something right now, I was like, "Maybe I'll do it later, maybe I'll do it later," and I was like, "What's the bottleneck here? What's going on?" And I realized it was me, myself. It was that fear, and I was like, "Why?" Like, no one said anything. Like, I was like, "Then what's stopping me?" And it was just my own fear that I was thinking, like, very worst case scenario, and I changed everything. I was like, "Okay, let me think the positive side of things," right? And at the end of the day, like, maybe I'm not gonna get the outcome, but to your point, I even small wins, I don't even call it small. Even if
Hmm.
I just met someone new, networked, connected with someone, got a sisterhood, whatever that looks like for me in the business, that itself is a big win, right? We don't have to look at it from a place of I got this money, revenue, I hit this like huge thing. It's really the progress you've made as a person in the past 6 months. I mean, on the outside, it doesn't look like a huge change, but in the inside, it's like I've become way more unapologetic and myself and so happy. Like I'm just like on cloud nine, honestly speaking. And I was like, because I myself like was the bottleneck and the barrier. So I love what you said is just do it even if you're not ready, right?
Hmm.
You're not they're not gonna be there are gonna be times when it's this entrepreneurship is not like the others, and it's what I want to share is you're gonna have its ups and downs, but it's the journey that's fun, right? Enjoy the moment, be in the present moment, truly connect with your clients, customers, be around the right people. That itself is fun. It's not like the end goal here. It's
Yeah.
yeah, embrace the downs. It's teaching you something. It's either a blessing or it's a lesson, and you're being prepared for all of this, right? So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you
It's
for
very well
sharing this.
said.
Yeah, and this is amazing. I had a great conversation because
Yeah.
these are transitions. I'm talking to women who are going through similar journeys, and they're just like, I don't know how to navigate this, Vina. It's so hard. And it's very important to surround yourself with similar women or men, right? I think I had a man who said the similar thing about on another podcast episode,
Mhm.
and his journey was like, hey, I had everything, and then it just got lost, and I went through some we call it a rebirth, right? And in a spiritual journey, and now he's here, and he's like, "I might not have that, business I used to have, but I have a very nice wife and 2 kids, and I'm so happy, and I'm just thriving, and I get to spend time with them, and that's what matters to me." So, so you have to see, like, there are times when you're gonna have these seasons, it doesn't mean something's wrong with you, They're
Yeah.
meant to be there to kind of make you a better person, a stronger version of you. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
No, I totally agree. It's very important who you surround yourself with too, right? Like, because when those hard times happen, and it will happen, like everyone goes through hard times in life, some worse than others.
yeah,
And like it's who you have in your corner that's like gonna make a big difference of like how you get through, right?
yes, absolutely. And I didn't have that sisterhood. And
Mm.
I was like, I need to search for it somewhere. I was searching for it. But I actually came home to myself and I was like,
Mm.
it's all within you. But I also
Yeah.
created something called Sovereign Rise to do
Mhm.
something that's similar to create an environment for people who are in the same on the same boat. So yeah,
Amazing.
and yeah, we'll love to get into the fun rapid fire round now. So
Okay.
window seat or aisle seat?
Window.
Mhm. Likewise. I just love the views. Like I would always take photos of like, what I see on the outside and
Yeah.
in the window. So amazing. Okay. One item you never travel without.
Without, well, I guess my phone.
That's true. That's true. I don't think anyone.
It's an easy answer, I guess.
Yeah, likewise. So, what's your guilty pleasure TV show or movie?
Oh, TV shows.
Mhm.
Yeah, true crime is, yeah, every night my downtime.
Love that. Love that. Amazing. And if your jewelry brand had a theme song, what would it be called?
Theme song. Well, that's a very good question. I don't know why I'm thinking like the Beyonce song Texas Hold'em, or what's it called? I'm a huge country fan, and
Yeah,
then because my jewelry is more like elegant and feminine than
right.
Beyonce.
Beyonce is great. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
like you can do the both, right? There's
Yeah.
country in this. Like, why not? We're talking about both.
Yeah.
Like, just
Yeah.
make it your own. Make it your own. Compose it.
Exactly.
Love that. Love your answers. And yeah, Sandra, thank you so much for sharing your
Okay.
journey and your heart so openly. Just love your presence and your energy. Like I said, that is enough. And that's all we want to see. And I know we're so focused on being so like, hey, we need to prove or perform, and you just need to be yourself. And
Yeah.
everyone, you can build a business on that. You can build a life on that. And that's
Mhm.
who you are is enough. And what I love most is that this conversation that we talked about is, even though we talked about like immigration and entrepreneurship and the jewelry branding, what we really are talking about was identity, right? So because when we stop trying to earn the belonging and force it, and we start embracing who we are without the labels and deep down, everything begins to shift, right? Our confidence changes, our leadership changes, even the business we build become expressions of who we are instead of
Mhm.
performances of who we think we should be, who they think that we should be, like society and all that, right? This is who we truly are at the core. And that's what people want, right? That's why they buy. They buy your story. They buy your
Yep.
jewelry not because it's like jewelry. It's your story. It's the mission. It's the vision behind it. So I
Mm.
also love what your work represents. It's a self expression. It's a reminder that confidence isn't something we wear to impress others. It's something we cultivate from within. So, for everyone
Mhm.
listening, I encourage you to connect with Sandra and explore SH jewelry. It's just beautiful and very feminine. I love the story behind it. And it's
Me
really
too.
a beautiful reminder that our greatest challenges often become the foundation of our greatest purpose, right? And the
Mhm.
breakthrough that comes following that's a byproduct, right? The wealth and the materialistic stuff. So today's conversation resonated with you, I'd also love to invite everyone into what we're building through Sovereign Rise. These are the exact conversations we have. It's literally about belonging and sisterhood because this is a journey which is isolating. And I've been through it for the past 4 years of my professional life and, of course, my personal life. So it's very important to me that I wanted to kind of curate this. And we have 4 founding stewards and 14 collaborators, all of that. It's really a global leadership ecosystem for whether you're a founder or an entrepreneur, executive, authors, anyone, which are really navigating seasons of reinvention and expansion. So we blend the soul and strategy with outcomes, right? So, like growth and identity, growth in your leadership, visibility, and all of that. So we already launched and we're welcoming incredible group of, founding members, collaborators. It's really just I'm here to serve my mission. I'm complete joy doing it right now. And currently, in July, we're already having like 2, 3 master classes on these things, on these topics. So if anyone's interested in becoming a founding member, speaker, collaborator, I'd love to connect. And thank you so much again, Sandra, for your wonderful presence, and your story and your energy. And we'll love to keep, I know a lot of people are going to really you're going to have an impact on a lot of people today. So until next time, remember the greatest success you'll ever build isn't a business. It's actually becoming the fullest expression who you're always meant to be, right? That's where the liberation comes from. And that's true success, right? Is who you are. You're becoming the best version of yourself. The rest will come naturally to you, right? So thank you for joining us on Voices of Impact, and I'll see you in the next episode.